I don't think he's joking. If he has confidence that he can get there earlier.
Okay.
Not a good idea.
Line up, everybody. Somewhat close to the
Probably
middle.
not the best idea.
Line up. 2 to the Dark Knight. 1 away. Watch your partner. It's a range swap.
Clockwise, don't look at eye. Clockwise. Now, go. Spots. Look around. Valor with happy. DPS out.
Easy pattern.
Tanks, healers, fix towers.
Knockback.
Knockback. Knockback.
Hey.
Very nice job. No, fuck. Terrible job, guys. Thumbs down. Thumbs down.
Seth?
Oh yeah, I should have ended on A.
Tanks, healers, fix. Yeah,
Yup.
tanks, healers, fix towers.
I had to. I was counting and it. I ran the entire time and I didn't make it. I don't know why.
Yeah, don't worry
If
about
you have
how
the
many-
long path, yeah, if you have the long path,
It wasn't even a long
basically
path. That was a
you just
perfect
want to
180.
be.
End on a letter.
Oh well, you would have started not on the cardinal though. You just, if you're
Oh right,
a meteor,
yeah,
you're
'cause
always
it-
ending
yeah,
in front of ice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It-
you're
it
always
was a-
ending in front
It
of
was
ice.
a long pattern. Yeah,
Yeah.
I should have kept going.
Is no one else gonna call him out for saying this is the easy one to bait a YouTube clip?
Did he say that?
Yes, you did.
Oh.
I mean, that was the easy meteors. Yeah, it's just I stopped on the wrong one.
That's why it's a good clip.
I mean, it's not
Yes.
that funny.
Whatever you think. Ready? Move. I just heard it. What?
Yeah, you finally heard it, huh?
This is the first
Been
time I've
happening like every
Randomly
other
just
poll
goes,
from
what?
or
Or
that happens all the time.
I don't get it. Why?
Power's mine.
It just
DB?
happens.
Ready? Move.
4. Paladins 4.
Left.
Middle.
Right.
God, I just got shouted at when I spot by Pharaoh and then double shouted at when I spot by Woops.
What do you mean chatted?
Pharaoh's always right.
I actually
You're
got
trying to
there
chat here?
earlier than ever. Line up.
Line up.
Go to center.
Look at your partner. 2 to the Dark Knight. 1 away. Look at your partner. Just melee swap.
Clockwise, don't look at eye.
I'll get him.
We need that guy.
Okay. I got dash.
Look around.
You should be raising near
swap.
where
No
we
swap. No swap.
are. Stack with me right here.
DPS out.
Ah. What the heck? What the French toast? Ugh. I can't wait for sleep time.
Move.
I see.
Ready? Move.
Paladins 3. Middle.
Left.
Line up. Somewhat close to the middle. Line up. Line up. Look at your partner. 2 to the Dark Knight. 1 away. We're good. Don't look at eye.
Clockwise. Clockwise. Go. Look around. Pharaoh with Slayer. Tanks, healers out.
What?
You missed that tower.
I know, but how? I was fucking standing right in it. Just needed to flex faster, I guess.
When you go back in, it's always clockwise of you is your prio.
Wait, are you talking about the inner towers?
Correct.
Yeah, it's not always. Move. It's based on who doesn't have an option about the tower. Everyone needs to rotate away from them.
Right. My only option was clockwise up here.
Yeah, but if your only option was anti-clockwise, that means everyone goes anti-clockwise.
What I meant
Just
to
need
say
to
is
eyeball
1-3.
the towers. Okay. Ready? Move.
Paladins 3.
Right.
Left.
Dude, I've been playing this game for so fucking long and I still don't know what those sound effects are for, now that I think about it. Line up. Line up, line up. Look at your partner. Someone close to the middle. 2 to the Dark Knight. 2 to the Dark Knight. Thanks, Watt. We're good.
Clockwise. Don't look at eye. Go. Look around. Revenge with Whoops. Revenge with Whoops. DPS out. Tanks, healers, fix towers.
DPS Cardinals.
This is not gonna work. I started as far back on my side as I possibly could.
Was the meteor in the tower you ran into in the middle of the tower?
I'll have to check again real quick. But even then, I don't know if I would have made it. I think actually I would have. Let me check. And I did the contouring also. Yeah, that one was like, wow, that's tough. I don't know how much better that could have gotten.
Was it?
It looks like it was centered, but man, I don't know if even if it wasn't, if it would have been all right. If it was to the left.
Have we successfully done the bad pattern yet?
I don't think so.
No. But Ridden told me they were doing it consistently.
I literally, I had 2 meteors left by the time I reached the meteor on the other side. That's with contouring. And I started at the back end of mine.
There's gotta be something we can do.
Like even if I had maybe taken another couple of steps, it wouldn't have improved it much. Oh, no, that wouldn't do anything. Never mind. Changed my mind about that statement.
When do the ices go away?
During
The very end,
knockback.
right before the knockback, after the meteors are basically done.
Hang on, I need to feed my cat. He's bothering me.
Okay.
He wants it.
I'm hungry.
Yeah, I was just to the left of, like, from here, I was just to the left of 2, and the first meteor I ran into was just to the right of C. Yeah, so that's pretty much the bad pattern. It doesn't look like it was all the way to the left, but like I said, even if it wasn't, I had 2 meteors left by the time I got to them.
Yeah.
Like, I could contour a little closer, I guess, but, like, I'm already kind of following it.
You have to
an
know
example
very
of bad
specifically,
pattern.
like, how tight
Yeah.
can be together to stutter step, because like that, it's been instant death every time anyone's tried to stutter before. I still think the answer to the bad pattern is identifying it early and going to the same quadrant, then going opposite directions, but again, that's incredibly hard to do.
It is, but I mean, like I said, I could probably have squeezed a little more space out of that. I feel like I probably could have squeezed a little more, but I don't know that that would have been enough.
Yeah. With how we've been doing it, I don't think that you can feasibly get 7 placements there. It'd be very tough.
No, I think you can. It's just you have to get them on a perfect zigzag. Because I think what is happening, I think why that one was a bit problematic is my contours were still dropping them closer to the center as opposed to like in the actual divots.
Right, yeah, so you have to get the timing right, so you put them at each of the edges, which is what I was struggling with too when I was zigzagging.
They're exactly a second apart, so if I'm gonna try something next time I get that. Because like I counted 7, and I'm like, yeah, if I got 1 on every contour and then 1 on every wall, it would fit. It would 100% fit.
I'm
Actually,
back.
fits very well.
What was talked about?
Just more specifically the means with which the meteors are contoured. Like really needing to be basically in the contour on the backside of the thing, and then drop it on the wall like almost right now. It's kind of like what we talked about earlier, where you're trying to almost drop 2 as close to the first tower as possible, and then once you do that, the other 5 are actually pretty easy.
Okay.
So
you're saying you just take a harder angle? You take a harder angle?
Yeah,
to
take
the
a harder
wall.
angle. You go contour wall, and it's exactly a second apart. So you basically have to go 1 turn, 2 turn, 3 turn, 4 turn.
Yeah, let me just test something.
I made a diagram of what I was talking about earlier. Hold on, let me actually.
Yeah, it took me exactly 7 seconds to get here. From between C and 4. And that was just by going right around the edge. Let me try again in reverse.
Yeah, so like what I'm saying is you'd have to start like here in a tower, like I guess right here where I am right now. And you'd have to go here 1, here 2, here 3, here 4, here 5, here 6, here 7, and then this is where the tower would be.
Could you guys look at that diagram I just posted and assume that's the bad pattern we get? So if the north meteor, what I'm saying is to drop their first meteor on that first gray dot in the north tower, would you be able to drop that last meteor from the other side, the black one, where I put it, the last one?
If you do the rest of if the other 6 are perfect, then yes. But yeah, if in the bad pattern, again, here's the only rule you should ever really need to follow. There's 2 rules. 1, and I mentioned it earlier, if you're the meteor and you have a letter marker to your right, you want to try to be in that divot section, like right here-ish, to drop it. If the letter is on your left, you need to be dropping it as far. You need to be dropping it as close to that letter as possible. So you're always just dropping it as close to the nearest letter as your tower will allow you.
Okay.
Your first meteor.
Yeah.
Unless you're on a letter, in which case you could just drop it on the wall.
Yeah. That's basically what I just drew, actually.
Yeah. That's what I mentioned earlier.
It's
It's
the
just,
same
when
thing
you're
as
in the
the
middle of doing it, it's a little tougher or something.
Mm-hmm. Because the person with the short distance to run, they need to be able to drop their last meteor, like, basically at the tower.
But close to the wall.
Yeah, but close to the wall. And then the first one from the other person who left that one needs to have it as far away from that last one's going to drop.
So specifically, the thing to take away from this long conversation is to always place your meteor on the inside of your tower.
As close to the nearest letter as
possible.
You're right. Yeah. But like inside and forward. And just leave that as
and that goes for
your
every single
constant.
meteor position.
Right. That every single pattern should always be first meteor on as close to the letter as possible.
Yeah, not just as close to the center as possible, but literally as close to the letter, like the actual inside as well. Not here. Here.
All right. Can you try that?
Yeah.
Go.
Pharaoh's grabbing food apparently.
Wait, didn't he just say that?
He said, "Gonna grab food."
No, but like 5 minutes ago, he said, "I'm gonna get a snack," and then he said, "I'm back."
Yeah, and then said, "I'm gonna grab food." Oh, he was probably cooking something, and then grabbed it.
Oh.
I'm back.
That probably makes sense.
You got a Pop-Tart?
Oh, I had a meal tikka masala. It was gonna expire, so I had to heat it tonight.
Damn.
Pop Tart. No.
Busting out the tiki masala mid raid.
You can eat it with a spoon, so it's good.
That requires heating though.
Yeah, I mic'd it for 4 minutes.
You crazy?
You whatted me?
I mic'd. I don't get
I
your
have a
name.
suggestion
Oh, your
on
name is. I
yours.
forgot your name's Microwave. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what if we just had the Aussie players like go into the death wall to drop their meteors because that's possible without dying sometimes?
That's so
I
true.
think that would
May not
really
actually
help
buy
us
us enough
succeed.
space.
That's so true.
I think the Aussie players should just run into the wall right now.
What? Oh, by the way, I was just doing some testing. Move.
Move.
What'd you learn?
If you do the contour, it's a whole second.
This guy's dead.
Yeah, I'm not dead. I had half cooldowns.
Too fast is what you're gonna say.
If you do the contour, you take a whole second longer, which is what you want. You want to take longer.
DP.
Okay.
Ready? Move.
Paladin's A.
Right.
Left.
Either of those.
And 1 second longer accounts for an extra meteor, as Happy said. There every second.
Being in the wall would make it a lot longer too.
Line up.
No, but yeah, I do think the takeaway is
Line
always
up
place
close to the
close
middle. Look at your partner.
Yeah, let's focus on this.
2
first.
to the Dark Knight. Healer swap.
Clockwise, don't look at the eyes. My group looking straight out. Go. Look around.
Let's
No
swap.
swap. Tanks healers out. And the twos.
Knock back.
Ah. It would
Yeah, that
seem-
was the bad pattern.
Yeah,
Ended
but we didn't
right
die
on
to the
top.
bad pattern.
Yeah. No. The meteor did go off.
You were dead first,
dead?
weren't you?
Let me.
You were dead.
Yeah, I thought you
Let
died and then
me-
the last meteor.
No, I did die because I was staring at the meteor that I didn't anti-knockback. I'm looking at that clip because that's my first chance to actually try that.
Did your partner drop it as close to the nub or letter as possible? I think that was Slayer.
Don't know.
Fuck the bad pattern.
Sure, I did it.
Butter chicken with palau rice.
Yeah, it looks like Slayer was pushed up.
Skill issue?
Trying to think.
Let's see. Looks like he's up a little bit, but he's not as up as far as he could be. But either way, it's gonna be tight.
Either way, he would have to be like a whole tower's width over for that to not be touching. Trying to think.
Until we solve this bad pattern nonsense, this is gonna really fucking fuck with our prog as we get later in.
I know. That's what I'm thinking right now.
I think it's gonna have to involve us moving the ices.
There's no room for the ice though. You can't move it further in, otherwise it covers the towers.
Yeah, we barely have enough space in there to begin with.
Oh, were you guys unironically thinking of how to move the ice? So I put a joke way that resolves it earlier in the chat.
I recall.
Well, I mean,
It would actually
we're
work.
looking for actual ways.
The way is run the meteor better. Or redo how you're handing out meteors, handing towers to meteor players.
Yeah.
I mean,
Like literally rotate everybody sometimes.
That's
Like, just-
that's
I
what
mean,
my
so there
mind
is
going
something
right
I
now.
can do,
You'd
but
have
the
to-
odds of me being able to do it and call it every
Yeah,
single
so
time is
It's
dog
so
shit.
fast.
I know what you're saying, Happy, because
Yeah, I brought it up earlier. It's where you have to look at the quadrant opposite of you and see where their towers are and know if you
yeah,
have. But then there's going to be times where even if there's only one tower in each.
yeah, there is the possibility that there is no tower, and so the only option in
Hold
that
on, I
case
have,
is to rotate all the meteor players.
I have
Yeah.
an interesting thought. You'll never have a bad pattern if you, you'll never have as bad of a pattern as we currently have if you always send the meteors to the same quadrant if there are 2 towers in that quadrant. So all you have to do is identify which of the 2 quadrants
We can't do
the
that,
meteor
though, 'cause
people
it's
are
fine.
and determine
So
which one to
there's a
send them
different.
to.
There's a different problem with that. They end up both on the same other side on a cardinal, and there's no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also the ice. You can't be stacking them together before going out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of how feasible it is to actually just call an entire team rotation. Not whole team, just meteor players rotate. You would have to identify that where they're going is a bad option, though. Oh man, there's not a lot of time to think.
Can't you just always keep the meteor people adjacent? Have one of them prio right, have the other prio left, and keep that consistent? And that way, it'd be the same thing as what I said, but it'd be circumventing stacking the ice.
Okay, so what you want to do
Yeah,
is like send them
actually.
north. Oh, send them north and west,
Yeah.
and then they rotate from north
Correct.
to south, west to east, and then the other 2 people fill in.
Correct.
Yeah, actually.
Now wait.
Yeah, there's a problem about halfway through.
It wouldn't, because you never make it 180 degrees placing meteors.
No, but you make it pretty close.
Right, but then you just double back like what 30 degrees.
Okay,
is
I'm
that
gonna
tower?
present you. So looking at the diagrams, I'm gonna present you with the one that has pictures of all 7. I'm gonna present you with diagram number 2. Let's say north and west have meteor markers. The meteor is gonna be on the far right one. The other meteor is gonna be on the south one. They're both gonna rotate clockwise, counterclockwise. You're gonna hit each other super soon.
Well, I didn't quite interpret. Did you suggest that you put them next to each other and rotate away?
Yes, kind of.
I
suggested that
already-
you keep adjacent cardinals, yeah, and then you. Have
I
the right
already
prio,
theory
left
crafted.
prio.
I
Yeah,
theory
no,
crafted
there's
that.
patterns
Yes,
that are
I-
even worse than this one.
Yeah,
in that case.
there are certain ones that are impossible. This is just hard because, like, technically it is possible. Maybe there's a stutter step timing or something, which is that seems unreasonable, but it's still doable. But the other way is you will run into patterns that are literally impossible because you cut out an entire quarter of the arena to use. Whereas you can only really afford to cut out the space between 2 waymarks. You can't cut out a quarter.
What if you...
Wiggle.
Yeah. What's the timing on the towers spawning? Is that the same time as you're placing ice?
Everything pretty much comes up at the exact same time.
Right, like, but the towers spawn and then the ice resolves? Like, in that order specifically? Yeah.
That's why I was joking. You could put ice outside on intercards and completely change the strat.
I just thought of
No, so if an inner tower doesn't exist, you send the meteor player, you don't send the meteor player to that. You only send a meteor player, other way around. You only send a meteor player to a quadrant if there is no inner tower, because then there are 2 choices for towers in each of the quadrants that you send a meteor player to. And that way you have the ability to always have a long distance.
I was going to make a different suggestion. The meteors can never go to a quadrant that has a tower on the right. Because if there's ever a tower, because you can do a tower in the middle and then the other one be a tower on the. I guess actually that's still. You need to identify both of them. Yeah. That only works if you could identify the whole arena top down.
That's why I'm thinking, like, if you're looking at the inner towers specifically, you can choose the direction almost immediately based on that, rather than having to serve the whole arena. And I think if you were to think about it, you can always send them to those quadrants without the inner tower, because you'll always have 2 choices in them 100% of the time. There's never a situation where either of those quarters, like those quadrants that are adjacent to a no inner tower middle, that won't have 2 choices in them based on how they distribute towers. If that makes sense. Like, I'm horrible at explaining things. You know this from yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna need a diagram to describe anything you just said.
Yeah.
There's a possible thought shortcut to being able to swap, call a rotation of the meteor players. It's dependent on assuming that they've programmed it in a way that there is always at least 1 tower on a cardinal. In which case, we only have to check 2 spots. And then if you don't see a cardinal tower, you just call for a rotation. And everyone in the meteor group rotates 90 degrees.
I mean, I know how to resolve a lot of these meteor issues without changing much.
Yeah?
When the meteor player is stacked with the ice, they can call what tower they want instead of always making tanks healers grab right. In that case, if that's what we did.
So that's true, but there's cases where 2 quadrants are apart from each other. They're directly across. They both only have a single tower, and those towers are a bad pattern.
That's why the thought process was always choosing a quadrant that has no inner tower, because that guarantees 2 towers outside.
I think I might have just came up with something pretty big brain.
I think it's based on Zeph's whole cardinal thing.
No.
Okay.
Let me finish testing it on a couple more patterns, and if it works, I'll share it. But I'm pretty sure it does.
I'm really annoyed that there's literally 2 patterns that just have perfect across.
Yeah, I know.
Actually 3 technically, but there's but then there's like 4 patterns that are off.
I'm wondering, is there any possible way to identify what might be around the outside based on the missing ones in the middle? Yes. Do you see any pattern on that?
Well, I mean, given the fact that you only can have 8 possible, and there's a maximum of 2 per quadrant.
Yeah, but I mean, by looking not around the outside, is there a way to identify? I'm trying to see if there's a consistent...
If there's not an inside tower in a corner, then there's guaranteed to be 2 towers in each of the connecting quadrants. If that makes sense. So like if you don't have an inside tower in the northeast, both the north and the east quadrant should have 2 towers, correct?
Repeat that.
If you do not have a northeast inner tower, you should always have 2 towers.
I'm looking at an example that has no northeast tower. There's 1 north and 2 east. So I think that
but there's always 2 in either the quadrant or like in the intersection between two quadrants, meaning the inside towers. So you're always looking at this example of all these 7 diagrams. That's always a true fact. You're always having 2 towers total in a quadrant, whether it be inside or outside.
Yeah, but how is that helping us?
You guys
If you-
discuss this after, and we just try and make the best of the rest of our night. Because I feel like this is gonna go on forever.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
you're
true.
either going to get frustrated trying to get to Nidhogg with just random RNG.
I'm not getting frustrated.
I'm not.
We
talking
don't have.
specifically.
The reason Farrah's saying that is because we don't have that long left today.
And then I would say call it and,
And
figure out
refining
the
this-
time. Like
We're
I'd
not
rather
perfect
just
with
figure out
previous
the
mechanic. I mean, you wanna call raid to figure out the mechanic instead
I mean,
of
if that's
try
the choice,
zigzag or
then
anything
it's up
else.
to the ultimatum. Yeah. Because there's no point in wasting time doing pulls and re-queuing because we're at 9 minutes left on the timer. You have to re-kill, get back in, then.
Okay,
hope
we'll
up for
discuss it
RNG.
then. So you guys want to come up with a? We can try and figure out a new way to do it.
And there needs to be a consistent way. Because
Look
if you're
at-
running into a situation where it's just RNG fail, it's not okay.
Look at my Discord stream.
I assumed it was a skill issue and people just didn't know how to zigzag.
Look at my Discord.
I don't know
stream.
what even started this conversation. Was it anyone's? Is there a clip of
It's
the
because
poll
we
in
literally have
particular?
never done the bad pattern correctly a single time,
Uh,
even after trying multiple things.
Okay.
I thought some people were having success with it.
No,
I'm
we
trying
have
to
literally
watch,
never
it's
done it
not
correctly.
expanding.
It's because it's my webcam.
I'm trying. Oh,
Yeah.
it's just a tiny pop-up. I can't see it properly. Okay, well it's tiny. I'm just gonna squint.
I
Just
think you gotta click on
You
it.
have to click
Yeah.
the top
Yeah,
left of it.
The top left.
where it
Oh,
says raid
actu-
3
click the
pattern.
actual-
Oh, okay. I see.
yeah.
Thanks. All right.
okay. I this might work. Okay, so I'm gonna annotate meteors with dark blue. Okay, so let's put the meteors here and here. This is where they would be taking their ice.
Yeah.
Light blue is tanks and healers that don't have a meteor. So we put them here. These guys would just go out and follow the same. What are we having? Tanks and healers, right? In this
Yes.
situation, they would only have one
Yeah.
option. So this guy would go here. This guy would go here for their first ones. This guy would go here. This guy would go here. And then these ones would be, this DPS would go out because there's 2. And then 3 DPS would take these. Same shit. Then when we have these guys on adjacent quadrants, we just fucking have them do this.
I can't see your stream, by the way. It's like
You can't
the
do
size
that.
of my
You will
phone.
100%.
You go into the
The
death wall?
meteors will cross each other.
They'll be the meteors will be done dropping by the time they get to like here.
But
That's
the
the
I
same
also
as
like
the
to
bad
point out
pattern.
this is an easy pattern. We need to solve it for hard patterns.
This is impossible.
Or even so, they could just keep going.
yeah, but they're colliding into each other.
This
so they're
is
medial
guaranteeing a bad pattern in a way. Like if you're worried about them being close.
I think the meteors will stop for both of them at this point.
The meteors go. If you just run, they naturally stop. A little bit less than 180 degrees around.
I think this was what I was suggesting originally with the adjacent ones, right? The adjacent quadrants, and that's what you were telling me, that there are situations where there aren't room between. So, like, there's still patterns that are bad for this
Yeah.
orientation.
It doesn't address the problem. You would run into the same issue just in a different way. The south is if their
Even-
only tower is anti-clockwise, and the west one if its only tower is clockwise, you're running into the same exact problem. Except this starts you off at a closer distance to each other with your paths.
Is there ever a pattern where there's only ones on the outside, or has there always been at least one quadrant with two?
There's always one with two. The rule is there's either one or two taken from the middle and put randomly on the outside.
I think you could actually conceivably call opposite towers while you're sitting on your ice spot and call people to rotate onto them. Because if you have... I've been sitting there and I have been seeing opposites and I've seen people not take them because of the rules.
Yeah,
would we just leave it up to the meteor people to say swap then?
Like you can do swaps. The problem is sometimes you'll still get patterns where they don't have an option within their quadrant. At which point the only option is to rotate everyone.
The quadrant thing is out the window. You let meteors take what they want, and there is a row that they're taking, and everyone just flexes around them. Well, the other two players flex around them.
Yeah. Well, that's what
the ideal roll. If the meteors are north and south, and there is an ideal roll like northwest to southeast, the meteors are going to go west and east, and the north and people are going to swap at them. Is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah.
So you would eyeball it and try and call it on the fly.
That's what I was saying before. Like with the...
You don't need to create rules or another strat. You could just call it. You've got time.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Actually, is
yeah.
Except I'm just trying to think of how do you shortcut the thinking process, and you only have to look north and south, because as far as I can tell, the mechanic is designed in such a way that there is always at least one cardinal tower. And so all we have to do is look north and south, and if there's no cardinal tower there, you rotate all the meteor players 90 degrees clockwise. That's what would have to happen.
It's not that simple, because sometimes the ideal situation would be like if there's a tower to the southwest on this pattern here. Like if there was a tower southwest on this pattern, then northeast southwest would be the ideal. I mean, you can see it if you practice it.
Oh yeah.
I would like to get there and try
guess
that.
on top of that, you just prioritize meteors in the middle.
You can angle your camera. I've been doing it. You can angle your camera so you see every tower on the arena, and you can see where the rows are, and try and call them quickly, and then just be like, "Hey, this meteor go here, this meteor go there." But it's tough because you just don't have a lot of time to do it.
I think, unfortunately, the truth of it is most of this brainstorming is going to end up being a waste of time, and the true answer is that there is a point. There's a sweet spot between the stutter stepping that failed 100% of the time and what we're doing with pressing W. That is the correct answer, and we have to learn the cadence of it to be able to do that movement.
That seems unreasonable to me.
That's what I said, and you said you wanted to zone out and talk about it more.
Right, but
honestly, what I'm thinking is pretty much what Pharaoh's thinking as well.
The best you can do is either get good at a bad pattern, or stop call so you never take that pattern.
The thing is, I think our rule number one needs to be we just need one meteor on a cardinal tower. That's it. So, following what you were saying, Pharaoh, is if it's not north and south, we just rotate the whole thing 90 degrees, all the meteor players, and meteor players are priority middle, priority cardinal. Otherwise, you follow the usual rule of tanks healers right, DPS left.
This completely changes how we do our flexes, though.
No, the flexes are the same.
No, you don't want them to be the same. If the players are on south and west, and south is on the good roll, then it's normal. But if west is on the good roll,
you do the swap, and then there's a call to rotate.
That's too. I guess if we're dead center of the arena and barely moving, then it's fine.
The problem is you could identify the correct pattern and then call the swap, but it's hard to know who to swap around, like which players need to swap.
I mean, if you just learn where everyone stands on your team. I know Slaya is south. I know you're north. I know Fear is west. So I already know if someone was like swap with Fear, I'd go west. I'd go to D.
Yeah, no, it's just the issue of identifying the correct pattern and then looking at the meteors. Whereas I feel like you can, while people are handling the swap, that's when you look around and say, okay, just rotate one more step before going out to the ice. Because you do have time to get to the ice.
Mm-hmm.
If you do the swap
ice also
enough,
takes a second to activate, so might be able to cheat through the arena quickly. I'm not sure.
I actually find the ice activates fairly quickly for me if I don't leave it straight away. I get the dot tick.
Okay, so do you want to try and call a row then?
A row? So what do you mean when you say row?
Well, you need to spot 2 towers. The thing is, you need to spot the towers, and that meteor player needs to take the correct one. If there's multiple towers on that side.
Hang on, let me think. Basically, the way I would think about it as I'm approaching the mechanic is we do the swap, and if they are going to be east and west, then I would check east and west, and if I don't see a cardinal tower, then we just rotate all the meteor players. That
so you're making someone be in the correct spot, then the wrong spot, then the correct spot. That's
no, they're never starting. They're never starting in the correct spot. If they're east and west, there might not be any cardinal tower. There has to be a cardinal tower there for there to be a guaranteed option.
What you're saying is you want them to be opposite first from each other, and then flex if needed.
Well, the first step is you need to make sure that they are opposite so that they're not going to be going to adjacent quadrants. And then you just rotate them if the quadrants that they're in are not correct.
We can try that if you want. See how it works. I'd rather you just change how you flex.
Well, the thing about changing how you flex is it changes the order of how you identify the safe spot, because that means you have to look at all the quadrants and then figure out which one is valid, and then look at the meteors and swap the correct people. It's just harder to do. That's all there is to it.
We can.
Whereas if you swap the players and then check their quadrants, you're only checking 2 quadrants for a single tower, rather than checking the entire pattern itself.
So my way is harder but faster. Your way is easier but slower, and I'm not sure what our problem will be, so we have to test and see what happens.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's faster, because it's a lot of thinking to be able to figure out who needs to go where.
It would take me maybe 2 seconds to see what row I should be in as a meteor, and then I would just chad the position. I'd be like, okay, there's a row here, I'm taking it. Go take my spot.
This mechanic sucks, bro. Holy
it's
fuck.
It's like Wormhole, man. It's like a lot of fucking theory crafting.
Oh.
Remember Wormhole, Fira?
Okay, so I haven't thought this through, but what if... the thing is, you would have to look at yourself and see if there's no cardinal, and then you'd have to know that the other person on the other side also doesn't have a cardinal if you wanted to rotate.
You can, if you angle your camera downward and you got the right angle, you can see. It's why I sometimes go to my ice spot really late. I just stay still and look at them.
Would there ever be a way that you could send both of the meteors out to the same quadrant with 2 on the outside?
No, he tried suggesting that the ice is
there are some patterns. Yeah.
The issue is they need to get a tower right as they start dropping. So you have to.
Yeah, so like I'm saying if the meteors somehow made it out to the same quadrant that had 2 on the outside, they would start right next to each other and then just go away from each other. And then the other 2 on the other side would go mirror them, and then they just swap sides.
That's what I was explaining when you're doing your drawing originally, I was saying identify the quadrant that had no inner because that would guarantee outer, like multiple outer.
Yeah.
But you'd then have to
somehow get
have
past the ices.
Well, you'd have to have 2 adjacent quadrants to do that, and then you'd have to have them meet up, one to the right, one to the left.
Yeah.
Priority, and that's not always possible. Also, so like it, yeah, it just introduces like it's possible, but like I think what they were telling me is it introduces just as many bad patterns.
It's a good idea. It's just I don't think you actually get.
I already
the arena.
I theory crafted that yesterday. It's just that you can get patterns that make it literally impossible is the only problem.
Yeah.
This mechanic would be so much easier if just a couple little things, even if one of them was changed. It's insane.
Well, they had an extra year to work on the ultimate, so they just kept tuning it harder. Okay, I think we can do this.
What are we gonna do?
We're going to not.
Pray for.
We're gonna make
bad
the flex
pattern?
harder, but more convenient for the meteors. So after everyone has flexed, we're gonna make an extra rotation on those meteors, if it's convenient for them to go out and get towers. And an additional thing that we didn't specifically officialize is I don't really like that it's always tank healer right, DPS left. I think the meteor player should take the one that's best for them for the meteors.
Well, the thing is, if you get a meteor on a cardinal, it doesn't matter. In which case, you're prioritizing. If there are 2 towers and there's a cardinal, you're putting the meteor on it regardless. So it's not always right left.
So what he said is what makes sense. If there's a tower dead center of the cardinal and one is off to the side, and you're paired with a meteor player, no matter what, they should get the cardinal, even if they're a tank healer.
Yeah. So that's basically a new rule, just so everyone's aware. Is
even with our current strat, that'll save us wipes.
Yeah,
even without changing anything, that'll save us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
you
if
can
we
see if you're paired with a
if
meteor player too, it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're looking at 2 towers, and you have a meteor with you, you just let them take the tower that they want on the cardinal. If there are 2 towers and there's none on the cardinal, then you just do tanks, healers right, DPS left. It doesn't matter, because whatever cardinal tower is existing is going to be on the other side. And the only way we can make that consistent is by checking the quadrants that the meteors are on, and then rotating everyone if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But it has to be fast.
How much time do we have
Everyone-
to identify that? We would do the swap
Like
probably.
3 seconds.
We'd have to do the swap without a call, so the comms were clear, and then you would have to say, like if it was on DPS, you'd just say DPS clockwise, and then we'd quickly move again, right?
Yeah. So I'm not going to be saying who's swapping. I'm
that
just going to
first
say
swap has to be
you just say swap.
fast as fuck, and then we actually might have enough time
Yeah.
if we can just do it on our
Because
own.
you need those in position to know whether they're going north, south, or east, west, and then you look at their quadrants.
Yeah.
I mean, there is one other way, but it involves more communication, which is basically you do the swap, you look out at everyone. So let's say you've done the swap, and then you look at the quadrant that you're going to. If you see a cardinal tower, you say yes, and if you hear at least 1 yes, then you keep it. If you hear 2 no's, you rotate. But that everyone has to be verbalizing it. That would be a really easy way to do
that'd be
it.
a mess.
I'm pretty sure you can just have someone smart call.
Oh,
where
it's
meteors should
not
go.
it's not even a mess, because it's. I mean, well, you could do this. We could go back to Uwu, where you press a macro if you see a tower, and if you hear SE1, if you don't hear SE1, then you rotate. If no one's pressed it. But the problem is knowing. I mean, you could say.
You're like trying to do this in a way that people can pug it. Like we can just have a couple people in charge of calling.
Oh no!
You don't need everyone to be
I'm saying it would
amazing at it.
literally be. I'm saying it would be easier on the people that are having to call it if they didn't have to check everything. If people were just checking their own quadrant, I'm actually saying this.
Yeah, but you're assuming that'll not
avoiding this
work.
because of,
You're right,
no,
but
it will, but you have to be faster. I'm saying it's easier. This is actually not a pugging thing. This is more a static thing where you get communication from every individual to check if there's a tower.
We do also only have an hour left today, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I wouldn't see an
it
issue.
Would work.
I wouldn't see an issue in ending soon and then just taking the rest of the night to think on what we should do. But I'm down for whatever.
Like the thing is, if you just
Zeph, can you pick something and we'll do it? Because we already have a couple ideas. We could just do a thing and see what happens.
As long as everyone is, I mean, we can try this where as long as one person says yes, you don't rotate. But if there's nothing, you just rotate. But it would have to be done within like 3 seconds, and then I would just call rotate if no one says anything.
I'm not following.
But maybe that's probably too slow.
Okay, so we would have to do the meteor flex without any call. And then we would have to, as we're getting into our pairs, we would have to look at where the meteors are at. And as long as one of them has a cardinal, it's fine.
Yeah. That's pretty much our goal. We just need one cardinal tower.
I could do that.
Where the meteors are.
I could call that.
Can you weigh out the difference in, is that more difficult than learning how to stutter step with the cadence of the meteors? Because you always have to weigh out
I feel like that's
it's proven possible the other way, so.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd like to mess around with some stutter steps as well.
Yeah, it's just I look at.
Can we practice this in T9? Unironically.
You'd have to compare
the meteors. Those meteors.
Drops. I think there's
those meteors. You can't be as close.
Oh yeah, I think the distance.
I just need like 1 minute
too. You're right.
I need 1 minute just to think hard.
Yeah, from memory, I'm pretty sure T9's way too different.
You just have people jump.
What?
If their quadrant has a tower on the cardinal, have them jump.
And how about we just let's just try doing the fast flex, and then I'm going to try and check the quadrants and call a rotation if I see.
And then you would just have to say meteor roll rotate.
Can I want to ask a question.
The meteors are the only ones that'll be rotating.
Your only
so
goal,
I would say rotate.
Your goal is not even to do what I was thinking, where you call out an exact, as opposite as possible set of two towers, right?
No, yeah.
You
so
just
what
want
you're
one on a
suggesting
cardinal.
is just making it. Yeah, yours
so
is.
So how is that
it
not the responsibility of the people that have the meteor?
Because
they
they
can just look out and see.
Where they are.
I'm gonna posit something that I noticed looking at all 7 of these patterns.
Yes.
If you always send the meteors north and south, you can always have a good pattern. Because there's always, if 7 of the patterns have a first tower that's directly north, and one pattern has one that's directly south, so one of the meteor players just needs to take that one, and it gives you the extra space.
So what you're realizing is possibly that they've made it in such a way that north-south always has a cardinal.
That is in fact the truth.
If that is the truth, that does work.
What?
If we always make it north-south.
Is that actually the case?
Look at all 7 patterns. Tell me with your eyes.
We don't know if it is, but in this sample size,
he's actually
Oh, I'm sorry.
right.
Yes, in this sample size. Okay, let me rephrase. If this was always true north, that would be true. But what it means, there's always one. What you're saying on the cardinal is essentially correct. 6 of the patterns always has a cardinal that the meteor should go to.
Oh,
in fact,
as
all 7
long as
patterns.
one meteor that you send has a cardinal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do
so
you
no matter
remember?
what, just identify
Yeah,
one
that's-
quadrant with a cardinal. meteor.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah.
Do you
okay,
remember?
so assuming if
Happy's
they
saying,
can turn,
Happy's saying
obviously
that
it
north and
changes.
south always at least has one. So if we put the meteors north and south every time,
I'm going to disprove that, but I'll do it intelligent. But essentially, what I'm saying, yes, this whole cardinal thing is correct. There's no reason it would be wrong. However, just looking at these, I'm curious if it's even simpler.
If I'm willing to totally invest in north-south until we're proven wrong,
Yeah.
and then
I'm going through footage to prove us
Yeah.
wrong now.
and then you
Oh.
invest into. But if you find a quadrant that is a cardinal, that's correct. Yeah, we could definitely just.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We would have to do the fast swap, and then
That's
once
what I
we
said
see where
before
we're
we
going,
zoned out, and you said it wasn't possible.
I think
Revenge.
Revenge was misunderstanding because he's repeating what we
Maybe.
were just talking about.
Because I didn't want to zone out because I said just have the if you could have the meteor player always get the. Remember, we decided to have the meteor player get the
That-
tower closest to cardinal. We decided after.
Yeah.
I wanted to fix that because the clips I've been watching of you guys dying is because it was tanks healer right.
Yeah.
And they stole
I
the
mean, that-
better
yeah.
or DPS left. They stole the better tower from the player, which made
So
your
that's
meteors get
true.
fucked up.
We also had
That-
2
so-
minutes left in the instance.
That's probably half
Yeah.
our wipe.
Yeah, but
The other half might be east
fixing
west.
that, prioritizing meteors on the cardinal fixes that, so long
Yes.
as they still have one on the cardinal.
Yes.
So it does reduce the number of wipes we're gonna have, but it's
That's
still possible. to
As
just have a
ideal
bad
as it
pattern.
gets.
Yeah. Short of just rotating the entire thing if there's not an option.
Yeah. If
So if we
Happy's right
never
with north
wanted
south,
to-
then that's gonna make
I'm just
probably
analyzing
the other
this
half of the
as a
wipes.
win.
Can we go in and try?
Happy's said he's disproving it.
I'm looking to.
I'm going
disprove
through
it. I'm-
footage
I'm-
too, and I have yet to see a pattern where there wasn't a cardinal on either north or south.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm looking at the ones. Like I'm trying to see how consistent it is. Just, based on what we just said. And okay, so I found pattern 1 exactly as it is in the diagram. That's a good start. Because if I can find them all exactly as they appear in the diagram, and that's all I can find, that's what I'm looking
That's
for.
3 for 3 now. I've seen just today.
Hold on, I have
4
one
for
where
4.
there isn't one north. Okay, so no, never mind. There is one north.
There was one south, probably.
That's fine. No, there should be 6. If I'm correct, there's 6 patterns where there's one north and 1 pattern where there's one south. However, I think I might have found the one that disproves that. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, I think I have one right here that disproves that. I think it does turn.
Oh yeah, I just found one too, where there
Okay,
wasn't one
yeah,
on
so-
north and south.
Yeah. Okay, so it does turn. So the cardinal identification is the best way.
Yeah, we're agreeing it's the only way to make it 100% consistent
Yes.
is if we identify it and then rotate 90 degrees.
And it
I
doesn't
still
matter
don't like
which,
the idea though.
It
'cause
doesn't
you're gonna-
matter. Okay, go ahead.
Can I say this? Can we make it so that if a player is already on a straight cardinal, they don't flex at all, and you make the other meteor flex?
There are situations where there's 4 cardinals. Like there's 4
Right.
cardinal towers.
So you have to have a priority. You have to
That's
say,
the ones we've been doing correct. The ones where we actually get through. That's those are the patterns we're getting most of the time.
Yeah, but if you're adding that many number of flex steps, you have to recognize this has to happen within 3 seconds.
One person doesn't flex, the other one does. It's the same amount of flexing. It's just a different person they may flex with.
there's a chance that you have to have both rotate.
Yes,
If
in which
no-
case you will do that. You'll just rotate them. Instead of doing one flex and then, oh no, none of them are in the right place, flex again to get them in the right place. You get them in the correct place from the start.
It makes sense. The problem is there's more thinking required to get to that solution.
I don't think
which
the
makes
thinking
it
is
take
bad.
longer. No, it's that I think it actually takes longer to complete all of those steps versus flex, and while flexing, check the towers and then rotate. Because if you hear rotate, everyone that is a meteor roll just moves. And it's a faster thing to happen. Whereas if, like for example, if you want to flex only the person that doesn't have a cardinal, let's say neither of them do, then you have to rotate, but first you have to identify that neither of them do, and then you're doing a full rotation, which is the same thing.
Just completely drop the idea of having partners, right? Ignore the fact that you have a set spawn that you're, like a set location that you're going to. If you're running in after the initial mechanic, the towers are appearing, you just need one person to say North Cardinal, South Cardinal. As long as one person identifies one Cardinal tower, all you have to do at that point is have a priority of the 2 meteor markers that are marked to then line up, or to then go north, and then the other one to go south. At that point, everyone else fills in. There's no adjustments needed, no communication needed.
Yeah, well,
one
the thing
person
is,
has to identify one cardinal.
Yeah.
North priority.
That could
Exactly.
make sense.
I think
if you have the meteor markers go north and then south, the others don't even have to adjust. They just fill.
Yeah. I was thinking kind of the same thing, but you prioritize just lining the meteors up north and south, and then if there isn't one, then everybody rotates the meteors.
Well, that's
that is what Zeph is saying.
Same thing Zeph is saying. I mean,
That's what Zeph
we're all
said,
saying the
but
same
I
thing.
think-
Yeah.
I am not saying the same
Well,
thing.
I know
don't
what
think
you mean,
default to
Revenge.
Position. I think that you.
No,
put
I
yourself
still
in
think
the
we
right
need
spot.
to. I still think you need to, because you're adding confusion to the people that need to fill.
But they don't
I
have a
think-
responsibility to do.
They just
for
stand there and
multiple
walk
seconds.
onto where the empty place is.
Because
Yeah,
all
but
you're
I-
doing is just putting yourself between, like, in the cardinals that don't have 2 meteor markers standing there. Like, so you're not necessarily even moving. Like, you're not doing anything that requires thought. Right? Like, there's
Well,
no...
okay, hang on. So something I was thinking about but I hadn't verbalized yet was not having DPS on the intercardinals in the first place. Just pairing up on the cardinals. Because I think we're seeing the mechanic well enough. The thing I was worried about was not being able to tell who had it.
Yeah.
But with the combination of party list and just like a light spacing, we are going to have we're going to have meteor markers on the cardinals the moment they appear. And so we can just check a cardinal, and if you have 2 adjacent, then you can very quickly just pick one and say, like, let's say it's A and C. Let's say it's A and B, and the meteors show up on those cardinals. You just quickly check the cardinal and just say north-south, basically. And the one that isn't part of north-south just swaps with the person that's south.
Yep, I'm following that.
Or if the one that is at B, at east, has a cardinal, it doesn't matter if they both do. All you have to do is just check one and check the other for a cardinal tower, and then just call the first one you see, basically. So that's kind of where I've been going with this whole thing, is you only check 2 cardinals, and you just call the first one you see.
Yep.
Yeah, so you would do north first and east second. So
Yeah.
if north doesn't have one, you'd look east. Is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. But if they
It's
if
what
they
happens
do
when north and
happen
east
to
don't have.
yeah, so if they do happen to spawn if north and east don't have one, the opposite is going to have one, guaranteed. So you can still
Right, but do you know which one?
well,
you don't.
no, so you're gonna have to check.
Right, which is why
But,
I think you just have to find one.
Which
and then...
that's why I was saying the 2 quadrants you should check are opposite, so north and south. That's why I want us to be doing the flex first, and then you check, and if you don't see it, you just do a quick rotation.
We'll do that
Because
then.
you check those two, and if it's not there, you guarantee it's in the other 2.
Let's just go
Whereas
in
if
and
they're
try
adjacent, it
Let's
can
just go in and try that.
All right.
Repeat it in as few words as possible so
I feel
everyone
like
can
you're
listen to the
saying
instructions.
I feel like you're saying what I'm saying, and then you're changing it to sound like how your brain works. Like, because now you're just saying assign the spots and then choose which way you're rotating rather than going in and going to a spot based on.
No, you guys are
Come on, guys, we're wasting time.
Completing.
Zeph, can you please
orders.
repeat what you want to do? Sorry, Woops.
Oh, hang on. Repair. Make sure you're repaired.
Repair. You want to do a flex as normal, and then everyone looks out.
Yes, but DPS will be pairing up on Cardinals. And then we'll do the swap as quickly as possible. I'm just trying to think. I feel like swaps would happen faster if you always swap with a north or south person. Well, maybe not. It depends on... Well, actually, it would be easier if you do the swap always to a north or south person. Does that make sense? So if they're adjacent... maybe I should just... Should I just screen share again?
No. Can you write down what your thoughts?
Right,
I guess you can screen share if you want. Like, I'm not going to be a dick and say no, but it's...
We're running out of time today.
We're running out of time.
If we're gonna go in,
well, I can explain, but people are gonna have to understand what I'm saying verbally.
You can't summarize it into simple instructions.
I'll use. Well, I'm trying to think. I haven't condensed
easier to use the diagram
yet.
I think you gotta try to summarize these explanations like much more.
I can summarize my idea.
Like 50 minutes trying to explain how to do this.
So it's a funny thing about using the diagram. There's patterns that aren't on that diagram. I found some while I was flipping through.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think the most concerning part is that we're 7 out of 8 accepted twice in a row.
No. I mean those 7 patterns. I don't just mean they can turn. I mean there's completely different ones.
No, like we're not even
I know.
able to queue.
Okay, yeah.
The whole thing
I'm not
is
trying to fluster
completely
Zeph here. It's just you've been. I hope I'm not sounding mean. It's just you've been arguing really hard in favor of this, so I assumed you would have a write-up or be able to just quickly.
Well, no, it's that
he's not even saying
you
know
want
it
it
works.
condensed.
We're trying to figure out something that works together here.
The thing is, for me to condense it, I need to break it down for myself into simple terms first, because I've talked through it. But then, if you ask for me to condense it, I have to first work out how to
fall asleep. Oh
Yeah.
no.
That's why I'm saying I'm concerned because we've failed a ready check and queuing in twice.
Yeah.
No one's been
Slay,
said
wake
anything.
up.
He probably did.
No, not
I mean-
again.
I guess you can screen share and condense what you're trying to say now.
Good night, Slayer.
If he is asleep, I don't feel like it's the worst thing because we're stuck anyway.
Yeah.
With an hour to go.
I'm checking again. Yeah, he might not be here. I was just frustrated because I had an idea, could have jotted it down. We could have tried it for an hour and then been done and then talked.
Right, but aren't you then hitting your head against something if it doesn't?
The assumption is it won't work. I know it'll probably
no,
work for
what
some
you
people.
what you said will reduce the number of wipes, but not eliminate them entirely. So it's a better strat than what we were doing, but it's still not perfect. Is the only thing, which is why we even talked about it.
You can't.
Sorry,
yeah.
jeez.
If you have guaranteed fails on top of player issues, like player failures, you're gonna run into way too high of a percent of failures, especially since it's the first phase of the fight.
No, I'm saying what I said would probably work in another stack might be doing it right now, and they might clear with it, so it would be viable. I'm not saying it would be easy, but it could work every pull if you practiced it. It's also faster. It's just how good are you at flexing fast?
I'm gonna screen share for the sake of thinking out loud, and you can just watch if you want.
All the ice are staring at each other, so I would be able to, at a glance, know where to flex. I guess it's kind of like, were E10S orbs hard for you? Or could you do them in like 1 second? Because I can just glance at the meteors and know where I need to move to instantly.
This is the fun part of Prog chat. I hope you're enjoying this.
Okay, so instead of DPS being intercardinals,
Welcome to everybody's saying the same thing in 10 different ways, and we need to argue about it for an hour before we agree.
And so the moment
we're all
we
saying
see
the same thing.
The meteors appear. If they're adjacent, whoever is not north-south swaps straight away. That's what I was trying to say before. Whoever's not north-south swaps. And then we check north-south. That means you only ever check north-south for a cardinal tower. So you don't have to concern yourself with a random swap, which, if we follow our current rule, goes like this. And then you have to check east-west. Whereas you can already get ahead of things by checking north-south.
We're talking about meteor strats because
making
we
it
kept
always
running into bad patterns that would make the mechanic unclearable. Even though we understand how it works completely, we need to change how we're doing it to mitigate the fact that there are some patterns that we're doing right now that are undoable.
Let's say this is our pattern. Because this is possible. So we have this.
I'm muting for a second just so I can explain this. As we get further into the fight, we're going to be progging on phases that are way past this point. And we're going to be wanting to think about that. We're not going to want to have to think about this mechanic fucking really early in the fight, which we will sometimes just 50-50 lose because our strategy doesn't work all the time. So we're trying to find one that works every single time, no matter what.
Example would be put fire on the summoner and the bard.
Yeah, if it's like this, you just swap whoever's not on the cardinal, and you only ever check north-south. And if you don't see it, you rotate. And that can happen very quickly. Because the swap is simple. If you see them adjacent, it's just, well, I don't have it and I'm on a cardinal, I'll just move over. And so you don't even have to call who's swapping as well, because the person that's on the cardinal, if you don't have it and you're on a cardinal, you know you're going to the one that is, you're just swapping with the one that you see east or west. So you do this swap really quickly, and while you're doing the swap, you don't have to worry about, am I checking north-south or east-west? You always check north-south. And if you don't see it, you just rotate all the meteor roll.
Who's checking south?
I think one camera flip from, I think I could check north-south. Because if it's the same thing, if I'm checking for the same thing every time, it can happen really fast. But if I have to look at where the meteors are, and then consider north-south or east-west for a cardinal, then it becomes more difficult. Although, that said, could just check north-south every time regardless, and if you don't see it, then you know it's east-west. So maybe it doesn't really matter.
Don't forget, there is a flip camera button to instantly see behind you.
I ain't pushing that shit.
There is, but I think I unbound it. Actually, no, I think it would be simpler, because I can't call... If I'm paying attention to the towers, if it does happen to be a swap that ends up east-west, and I look north-south and see no tower, I then have to consider, well, are the meteors already where they're supposed to be? Whereas if it's always north-south, I can check, and I feel like you or Happy, pretty much anyone can check it, and immediately just say, yeah, that's a rotate. Because you also know that, you know immediately that the meteors are going to go to the wrong spot if they go north-south, and you just call a rotate. And I feel like that can happen within 3 seconds feasibly.
Shit, I could call north-south with the flip camera button.
Yeah, could we just say...
I mean, yeah,
it just takes one person. It just takes one person to say north-south or east-west, and then the meteor people would know that they would have to rotate or not.
Because if I flip the camera and see it south, then we just do north-south instantly. Yeah. Like, I don't... And then if it's not, then we know it's the opposite.
So
yeah, all that needs to happen is a quick check and a rotate call.
Since this is up, can we just show my idea real quick to see?
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Put the fire on the bard. What I was saying is you check, and instead of putting the bard south and then putting the bard back east, just have the summoner switch with the dragoon here. And do a single movement after you've identified, instead of doing an automatic swap and then identifying towers and then swapping backwards or rotating. You would just have only if a meteor player is already on a cardinal tower, they shouldn't need to move.
What if
So
both of them aren't?
What needs
don't
to be,
have a cardinal?
What needs to be? Okay, so let's consider.
Then
we're in this
they
position.
would rotate.
Then that requires all four of them to rotate, right?
So what?
Still a
what would
singular
you
movement
look at?
instead of moving someone one way and then moving them again.
I'm just.
But yes.
So I'm not against this. I'm asking for the sake of convincing myself. What are you looking at to identify which one needs to swap?
The Bard is looking east. East safe.
But what if there is a cardinal above the summoner as well?
A cardinal above both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's where you get the confusion, where it's like,
'Cause
okay,
both
which
of them
one
at
is
the
actually
same time
going?
are gonna say north, south, east, west.
Mm.
There's literally a pattern where north, south, east, west all have cardinals. You need to pick a direction that holds priority.
Yeah. That's why
Okay.
I want to just default to north south, and then if it doesn't work, you rotate. While it is extra movement, it's a guaranteed fast call, is the thing. And so, like, what would happen is in this case, I'll just drag the marker as the player. They're going this way, and at the same time, the check is being done. And if it's a rotate, you just go one more over. And I feel like this can feasibly happen within 3 seconds. Maybe with a bit of practice, but I think it can happen.
Yep. As soon as we see the meteors, we
at
just
least-
call out the roll too, and then those people are knowing that okay, I'm getting ready
Yeah.
to move.
At least for me, I have more confidence in being able to call
This
such a
is-
thing.
Okay, it makes more sense now. Because I hadn't considered a cardinal being north and east.
I
I
can't
didn't even
wait.
know that was a possible
I
pattern.
can't wait for stutter step to be the solution to this. Still.
I mean, it is realistically.
It's technically possible, which is the annoying thing. It's just kind of unreasonably hard.
Says the Aussie.
The thing is, this is the worst part of this is it's still the northwest. If there's a fire in the east and west here, you're still not getting an ideal pattern. Like, how hard is that?
Solution is to replace static with West Coast only.
Gamer house. That's what I'm saying. It all comes back to gamer house.
Full circle. God
Not even
damn.
half the static is NA.
I think we may have just lost Slayer though.
Slayer said bedtime.
We started talking for a long time about this again.
I'm gonna be completely honest.
Mechanic sucks.
I kind of felt like calling it at 1 hour earlier,
Yeah, I
like
agree.
12 hours anyway today, just because we weren't making progress.
Cause we can do a write up for how we're gonna do this, and we can have
Yeah.
a better sleep on what we're gonna do for Nidhogg.
Yeah.
We have the information we need for the entire Nidhogg phase actually, so we could just, think
Yeah.
on it for tonight.
This mechanic is like
It's harder than I
light
thought.
rampant combined with
It's because we don't
Pen
want to
strike.
learn stutter step.
combined.
Aside from that,
I was fine learning it. I'm not the one that gave up.
I want to practice
Well,
it, but I don't know
we can
how.
we can
I
every
don't know,
single
dude.
time-
I wanted to
every
fuck
single
around
time
with it for a bit.
someone's-
I'm just being
every single-
selfish.
Every time someone's tried stutter stepping, it's failed, which is the problem. Like, it's all 8 people are gonna have to learn it.
Yeah, I accidentally did the smallest stutter step ever, and it actually failed.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
want to
you
learn
need
stutter
to-
step. I wanted to master the zigzag.
To do well, I mean, the zigzag sort of
Well,
requires it too.
so I-
Yeah, the
I
contour
tried the
also doesn't
zigzag,
work every
I-
time.
So I was thinking to myself, zigzag should be possible until I finally got the opportunity to do it, and I realized.
The,
how-
yeah,
There's
the
not
problem
a-
is if you
there's not
don't
enough
stutter
room
step
either.
with the zigzag, they just kind of land
Yeah.
in between where you want to be, and then it just
Yeah.
looks like you ran in a circle anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the snapshot is exactly between the blasts.
Yeah, essentially, you're supposed to be moving while it's impacting, and then stopping.
keep
for like
a
brief
rhythm.
Second. It's basically a half-second rhythm.
You
You have to stutter for
Yes.
half. You have to and then stop.
Well, it's a
stutter,
second and a
stop.
half, so you got almost 1 second.
Try,
You-
The problem-
try to keep
the
that
problem
rhythm
for me is
perfectly
knowing-
consistent for 7 iterations.
Yeah,
though.
that's fucked.
And
Yeah,
have
the
making sure 8
problem
people
for
can
me
do it.
is knowing when to start according to my ping. Like, I could learn it eventually, but I'm gonna have to have trial and error to figure out when my starting point is, just to get into the rhythm in the first place.
And just to cherry on top of the meme, server ticks would probably fuck with that regardless.
I mean, movement ticks are every 3 a second, so you have a little bit of weirdness there as well.
Yeah.
Can I mention something about the progress bar in TPS clip? They killed Nidhogg. It's at 90%.
It goes.
It's probably. It's.
Do you want to know what the next phase is after that?
I don't want to. I don't want to know yet.
Well, I mean, they teased a phase that we haven't seen yet.
I don't look at their fucking Twitter.
And live letter.
No, I know what it is. Yeah.
Oh,
I know what it is.
you mean it's Double Dragon team up?
When else is
No,
it gonna be? It's the
not
same
that.
arena.
It's not that.
Oh well, don't tell me.
I don't know. I've been expecting Raise Velga because we never really had a raid boss Raise Velga.
All right, then defend Pharaoh. Is he deafened?
He's
okay.
deafened.
It's
I don't care.
It's just the Astinian attached to 2 eyes. It's a DPS check and adds phase DPS thing, but there's a lot of intense mechanics surrounding it.
Okay.
You're separating.
So it's the same boss.
Yeah, you're separating the eyes from him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the next thing. But like, it's.
I guess
it's
that's
the
how
progress-
canonically Nidhogg would come back in that fight.
Correct.
Well, canonically, he uses the same body and just changes form.
Yeah, but now since we're gonna actually fight the real one, that makes sense.
No, but guys, the progress bar, it like how
yeah.
It
When
goes
it gets full, something else probably happens.
90.
Yeah.
It goes to 90.
It probably unlocks another
The
step.
fight probably isn't done at 100.
Yeah, it's probably a second step.
It's probably like the progress bar to the final phase, which is 5 minutes long or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We should probably just do some research tonight and look at other teams who are consistently doing Nidhogg phase pulls and just see what they're doing for towers.
So,
in order to
there's
see it
2 trains
consistently,
of
you have
thought.
to check every single one. Every single one of their
there's-
pulls to see if they randomly
So
fail.
I've been consistently watching. I had a couple streams open, and there are 2 teams that I was seeing far into Nidhogg. One being One Ace, one being Arthur's team. The other, and Stahl's team technically. Stahl and Arthur's are doing similar to what we're doing, where we're trying to handle most of the mechanics around the boss ring. One Ace is handling it where they're doing the Spine Shatter and Elusives far.
Oh, we're talking about that. I was
talking
thinking about
the
where
towers
we're stuck.
before.
Oh,
I'm talking
stuck
about
on-
the teams who are consistently getting past that towers and meteors bullshit. How they're doing it every time so consistently.
Stutter Steps. Almost
Really?
entirely. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Fucking
hang on.
clip, please.
if you can get a bunch of clips showing how they're
stutter
doing the
steps.
movement, then if I can look at that and learn it without having to trial and error myself, then I would be more
Unfortunately,
game
One
to do
Ace
that.
and Arthur's are sub-only VODs. I've
Well,
tried. to get
I'm a
clips from
sub
them.
to this.
If you can, yeah. I
know,
mean, I've specifically
Well,
watched him
Can I
stutter
just
step
gift you
before.
a sub? I'll just gift you a sub.
Well, I mean,
Because I don't know where I'm looking.
Consistently
You've been
being
watching,
able to
so you
stutter
know
step
where
would
you're
be
looking.
hard, but I think just knowing how to do it, and then in the off chance we get a bad pattern with how we're doing the mechanic right now, would be
think?
enough for me. I think.
Just visually seeing it. Okay. I mean, I could
If
find
you,
one,
yeah,
Because
I'm just
our
gonna gift you a
strategy
sub.
right now works really well, and the only problem is when we get that one bad pattern. If we were able to at least try to be able to recover that with stutter steps, I think I'd be chill with just keeping our same pattern and knowing how to stutter step.
Are we talking about meteors again now?
Revenge.
yeah, you're fine.
The
Sorry.
revenge
I
is
can't
dead
believe
behind.
Harshiphon turns into Sunhog.
Revenge, Revenge said something that changes quite a bit, which is he has been seeing teams that are getting into Nidhogg stutter stepping consistently. So if we have clips of people doing it consistently, then we can learn from that. I thought we were just going to have to trial and error ourselves.
The only concern is that both teams that I'm watching are JP. You know the ping on JP?
Yeah, but I've played long enough that I can adjust to my ping. I just need to change my starting time. I just need to know the cadence. The cadence is the important thing.
I think the ideal one is actually finding a example of before Bagel, whatever his name.
Oh, by the way, I think
stopped.
are you guys okay to say if someone wants to just leave now, go to bed, whatever, we're officially done for the day? Yeah. Because basically we're planning.
I really wanted to practice stuttering myself because you guys are convinced it's impossible or unrealistic.
I'm not. No,
I think it's possible.
Revenge is.
I want to see it.
Yeah,
I want to see proof though, and I want to see when they do.
Yeah. So Revenge didn't mention that he's been watching clips of people doing it consistently. I thought it was just like the odd thing, but if we can get clips, which I think I gifted you a sub, by the way, I didn't see it show up.
Yeah, I'm already looking through.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What I'm thinking,
if you can get like 2 to 3 or something, then I'd be
is
happy to look at those.
You might have to use parts of the arena, and then when the one behind you drops, that's when you know the next one has snapshot on you, and then you take another step.
I don't know if the pattern required stutter stepping, but I've absolutely seen him stop between the placements. Like, without a doubt, I know that happened, so that's what I'm gonna find.
The thing is, those explosions that are going off behind you, I think when one lands, the next one is snapshot. Is that right? I think that's how it worked in...
When one lands, you said?
Yeah,
yeah, when
the one
because they're every
behind
second,
you
right?
lands,
So
the next one has already snapshot on where you're at.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think about how do you manage your movement. Like, maybe you don't stutter step immediately, but once you get the cadence of the meteors landing and you can hear the pattern of them, or like you hear the rhythm, then you start stutter stepping. Because you only, as we've seen, you only need to stutter step a little bit just to take off that tiny bit of extra movement. So you don't have to stutter step the whole time, I think. So you could use because it would be really unrealistic not unrealistic, it would be unreliable, at least on my ping, while I'm figuring it out, to know when to stop on the first one. But if I can afford to use 2 meteors dropping to get into the rhythm and then start stutter stepping, then I think that would work.
Because
grabbing a 16-hour VOD sucks.
You actually, you don't have to stutter step all 7 of them, right? You theoretically only have to do like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I'm saying, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
If you successfully do the first ones, then you just run to the end.
I have a question.
Oh, I'm not saying, I'm saying don't do the first ones because you haven't heard the rhythm yet of them dropping behind you. So you get into
Once
the rhythm
you get into
with
the
first
rhythm, then
2, and then you start stutter
well,
stepping.
number 1 is when the tower cast bar is done.
Yes.
That's 1.
Yeah, no, but
boom,
that's the snapshot,
boom,
but it hasn't landed
and
yet.
then you can start stutter stepping.
When it lands, that's 2.
Yeah, so tower disappears, 1.
Yes.
First one lands, 2, and at that point you have a stutter step rhythm.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And so at that point you would maybe do run a bit, boom, run a bit, boom, run a bit. So the important thing is that you're just moving immediately after the snapshot. You don't want to be like stopping like halfway between the rhythm, if that makes sense.
How come you guys want to stutter step instead of sprint and
sprint and RP walk?
Sprint makes your stutters safer.
Wait, what?
If you're stuttering without sprint, it's more dangerous.
Wouldn't that
It
make
makes your movements more
erratic?
jerky when you sprint.
Oh, so if we have...
So I didn't even get to try it, but I was going to sprint and go forward and zigzag and stop, move, stop, move, stop. With sprint. It's easier.
The next... So the reason I hadn't thought about that is I might go too far, but if we have defined points at which you would stop for each meteor, then yes, that would...
Yeah, you'd be looking like, okay. You just stop if you go too far.
So interestingly, I'm
you
actually
use the speed,
noticing
not for
something
distance.
different. I'm noticing something different that I wasn't even looking for, that now that one of you mentioned it earlier, I'm noticing. As I'm looking back in every single pull, They're consistently doing, I don't know who suggested it, but they're consistently placing one meteor at the very start, at the very wall on the tower. The second meteor is going right up against either the fire or ice, just outside of the tower.
I'm doing the rock pose right now.
Can
the
you
WWE rock pose. That was the first thing I suggested today.
I mean, that's what we were talking about earlier, following the contours.
This one.
Oh, I was trying.
No, not following the contours.
Stop. They're only doing it at the very, very first one. Every time. That's the only one that they're ever.
It's actually the last thing in King Thornton chat.
Stop using the word this. You ruined this.
Revenge? I think Revenge, you said to the wall, not to the thing, didn't you?
Let me.
He's suggesting something similar, but in reverse, I think.
Yeah.
That would be...
So look at where the first gray meteor in that screenshot I posted is, and then look at the last black meteor. That's what I'm talking about. That difference where one of them is on the wall, and then the one that was first left by the other guy is like as far into the tower as possible.
Look to the right. On the right. That's the tower. So that's one of the Cardinals' starting positions, all the way to the right. That's the first meteor placed.
They've put it out
all the way to the edge, and then they and they put it in between the crevice of the ice and the fire. But it's important to note that they're starting on a Cardinal.
Yeah, in other words, they don't need to.
If they were in the other spot, they would have to start on the inside, because otherwise,
if you start on the inside, you don't gain. I don't think.
The idea is
I'm saying if it was the next tower over, you wouldn't have the benefit of starting on the edge of the ice.
I'm gonna find an example of an intercardinal
what he
start
said,
if there is one.
Hang on, I'll draw over it.
Okay.
I mean, can you just clip this so I can see a stutter step as well, since you're looking at it? Like that's literally why I gifted you the sub.
Yeah.
Scammed. See ya.
Yeah, I got sidetracked because I started seeing that placement every time.
Yeah.
And also, most of the time, they're not. Some of the players aren't doing it. I've just saw Arthur's doing it specifically. Okay. That's why I recognize
that might just be his way of doing it.
Yeah. But like I see every player, no matter who has the marker, every time I get to that point in the pulls, they're doing that specific placement. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if they're successfully stutter stepping, it may just not matter, and that's just how they decided to do it.
I think this is... You should be able to get 4 or 5 meteors on a single cardinal. If you... Okay, so... You're only going to have one cardinal that you completely cross over when you're handling a meteor. Like in Whoops's example. See how the west cardinal in this example, or the east one, is like the majority of it? You want to be able to try and get 4 or 5 of them in there by making a zigzag.
He's managed... well, yeah, from cardinal to cardinal, he's going to manage 5 according to this screenshot.
Yeah. So I should try and draw fire and ice on Whoops's image, because it makes it... I'm just trying to draw a shitty example of fire and ice.
Why, when I click flip off of a VOD, all it sends me to is an untitled page and it never loads?
If you are loading it from... I'm trying to think. I know why that happens, because sometimes this happens. Is he still currently live?
Yes.
That would be why.
Oh.
You guys probably won't even be able to see what I'm drawing here.
Work if you go to the highlight for the current live stream, you have to wait till the stream ends to make a clip.
Oh, cool. All right.
I have troubles with it all the time.
Awesome.
Love that.
You'll
I'm
have
gonna-
to local capture, like window capture it.
Hey, Zeph.
Okay.
Yeah.
And maybe revenge. Does this
Yeah.
make sense to you? This mess that I just drew?
Posting it in Discord?
It's in team chat. I drew over Whoops' image.
Wait, which parts are you? What's your drawing? I have to. hold
Okay, well, it's a 6-year-old drawing, so the
Squint.
circles.
on. No. Like
Is
I
the
have to look
fire
at
and the
Whoops' drawing
ice?
originally to see. Okay.
I'm just giving an example.
Yeah.
So I drew some circles. That's the fire and the ice, because you can't realistically just zigzag. However, what you were saying, Revenge, is the reason you start at the wall first is because you can get into a butt cheek of an ice fire AoE, right up into the butt cheek to put the inwardmost one, and then go out, sort of following the curvature of the AoE to hit the wall. Then you go straight, and then when you're in your primary cardinal where most of your meteors are dropped, you can zigzag into the butt cheek and then the wall and then back into the butt cheek again. Are you following?
Yes.
You do that every single time.
So I just checked something by using a tempo tapping thing in the browser. They're not actually dropping every second. It's technically the
It's fast. It's slower than
a little
second.
slower. It's slower, yeah. Because when I was checking the, I was assuming it was every second when I was checking whether the movement was feasible to just run a zigzag, which
No, three of
I
them.
realize
3
now it's
seconds,
not.
you get 2 meteors. I believe it is.
yeah, because
I was tapping my fingers in both rhythms.
BPM.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 42 BPM, which is basically 2 every 3 seconds.
Shit, we're
Yes.
getting into BPMs now.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I was doing this on my keyboard, and then I was
wormhole.
doing the meteors, and I listened to the difference between 1 second and meteor. And I was like, okay,
This-
that's
this
a
should be a-
rhythm of maybe it's a little bit 2 on 3 rhythm.
Yeah, isn't this right up your alley though, Whoops?
Yeah,
Good Guy Fieri snorting coke. Seth is.
unironically, yeah. I think there's just got to be an easy way where you can do it with some kind of markers on the floor in the arena and just moving every time you see the one
Whoops,
drop
you're-
behind you.
The
They're
way
all
I said it,
Every
so
single
the
pull.
way I'm trying to explain this, Whoops, is you can basically foresee the path that you're going to want to drop them in and just aim for them with sprint.
Yeah,
So it's sort of like your image, except one modification, in that you have actual things on the field to aim for.
yeah.
Is that what you were trying to show with your image?
The main thing I was trying to show with my image is the fact that the person on the opposite side from the person who has to do the short. So basically the long distance runner. You following?
Okay.
The
Yes.
long distance runner would drop their first meteor as far away from the wall as possible. So that
I
when
understand
the
what you-
short person eventually gets there, they can drop their last meteor on the wall right in front of the tower. So there on that tower there'll basically be one like on the super far inside edge and then one on the super far outside edge.
I feel like
That essentially gets rid of one meteor for the short person.
Is it really worth that much distance?
I think so.
It's seeming now that I'm watching. I've watched 7 pulls so far where they're doing contours, and I don't know, man. It seems like it's like night and day for some reason, and I can't wrap my head around it. But like,
Are you linking
just-
them? Oh, were you not
I
able to?
can't. I can't.
Oh, you can't.
I think they're just
I mean,
not holding
I could link
W.
the entire VOD.
At least, just like halfway in, they'll just like tap W a couple times and just not hold it. But I don't know how. I also think they're doing what I'm talking about.
I'm gonna find a POV of him doing it, and then I'll tell you the time stamp.
Just locally record it.
Locally record his VOD.
I mean, you could also just screen
Window
share what
cap
you're looking at.
tab.
Do you want to just do you want to just window capture
Just
what you're looking
screen
at?
share.
Or screen share it on Discord. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I could do that. How do I? Let's see.
Damn, I said I didn't want any junk food, but I kind of really want a pizza right now.
Wait, can I choose which stream? Which? Oh, I can choose an application. I'm stupid. Sorry, never mind.
We know.
Ignore me. Yep.
Good night, Slayer.
Oh,
Wait, did Slayer come back?
No, just
I'm
saying.
still
Good...
here.
Oh, hey.
what? Huh?
Huh?
Don't tell me you've been here the whole time.
I was.
Tell me you woke
What?
up.
No, you
You must
fucking
you
liar.
must have been
You
asleep.
piece
You were
of-
asleep.
no.
He's lying, bro. He was
You
here, but he was
liar.
asleep.
You're such a liar.
I mean, it is possible to sleep without realizing and just, gotta wake up and think you just blinked. Slayer, it's been 3 days. Where have you been?
It's day 6, man. I'm glad we're trying to figure out a consistent strat for this anyways.
Yeah,
'Cause
when
this-
you
this is-
consider
this is
is
driving
like
me
the start
crazy.
of the fight,
Yeah.
I don't want to be inconsistent on
Yeah,
this.
I don't want to
Like,
be on
going-
phase 5 and then like we'll just randomly wipe
Yeah.
to this.
I mean, I know it's kind of annoying to have such long discussions, especially during the raid time, but I feel like it's ripping off a band-aid that is
Yep.
gonna have to come off at some
Mhm.
point.
Agree.
All right, so placement 1, placement 2.
That was easy
Placement
pattern,
3.
right? What they just had?
Yeah.
Because they had a card.
But
no.
Oh, wait.
It's just they're doing contours every single, like no matter what.
Oh!
But yeah, that was an easy.
Oh,
pattern.
so yeah, they go butt crack, tip of the AoE,
Yup.
butt crack, tip of the AoE.
exactly.
Yeah,
Every
no, that's
single
what I
time.
was.
Yeah,
That's
the
what
one you're
I
running
was
into
saying we
was
do.
bad.
But we
But
weren't stepping. We weren't.
They memorize the time, so they just make sure that that's where the meteors drop.
That's why I was saying you sprint, and you can foresee all the places you're going to drop it,
Yes,
and just
yeah,
aim
no,
for them.
I agree. It's like
Yeah,
a combination of all
just
that.
don't
The
hold W.
problem is, hang on, I'm looking at this clip though, and
Next.
maybe I miscounted because I counted 7 spots total, but
One,
I might have just miscounted. Hang on, give me a moment.
Butt crack, tip, butt
Yep,
crack,
they're just doing
tip.
the contour every time.
That's the call, baby.
6. Okay, so the problem is I'm looking at my own clip. So maybe it seems okay because they're not getting bad patterns.
Yeah,
Let me
I'm trying to
publish
find
the
a
clip
bad
I'm looking
pattern.
at.
I'm just going
My-
through it.
Because I've been looking at this for a long time. I've been staring at it for ages.
Unfortunately, I have no.
As if
Can we
if
just
you,
go try and zigzag tomorrow? And whoever
there's
get-
one flaw. If you look at my clip, I'm putting it in team chat. If you look at this clip, I already thought about that, and I've counted the divots and like tips of the AoEs, right? So you go in, then out, then in, then out. There are 6 of those before you get to the next meteor that's waiting for you,
Yeah.
and you're dropping 7, which means your 7th is going to be on the other one.
Did this work, by the way? I think
No,
the step
what-
you're
the-
missing
what
in
my
this,
clip
that's right,
failed.
but you would have to take a very small pause at every point.
Yeah, well, the thing is, so if we're doing what Pharaoh says, which is you sprint to each location, that drops 6 towers. 6 meteors, and the 7th one is going to be where the other person started. That's a problem. So the stutter step has to be smaller than that. That's what I'm saying. We need to stutter step such that we fit 1 extra one in.
Oh, might have a bad pattern here. They started in an intercardinal. Wait.
Arthas is just constantly running though.
He's just going. There's no way.
That he's doing exactly what I just did. If you look at my clip, that's exactly the same.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Was that? He ended
That
on a
doesn't look
cardinal.
like a bad.
That wasn't a bad pattern.
that was a cardinal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Never
a
mind.
semi-bad pattern.
I thought it was. Yeah, I thought it was the.
Well, it's you call it bad, but actually those patterns aren't even bad.
Yeah.
As long as there's one on a cardinal,
One
it's
cardinal
perfectly
is
fine.
I got baited.
It's
Sorry.
the close ones.
Yeah. It's so annoying because
and why did that keep
every other
happening?
pattern
It
works.
happened to us so many times today. Bad pattern.
It did.
that's actually what Rin said as well. They said, "Oh, it probably won't happen that much," and then he said they got it 20 times in a row.
Fuck.
Which
Obviously
makes me
exaggerating,
curious.
but
I wonder because
lot.
they're all talking in Japanese. I can't tell, but it makes me wonder if they're orienting themselves to not to avoid the bad pattern. You know?
Yeah.
So go back then and look at the start and see if there's any, like, check the movements of the players and see if they're doing any kind of adjustments.
Okay, I shall do that.
Because that's how I worked out the steps for the other strats. Is I look at every single player and see what kind of decisions they're making that lead to what they're doing. That way you find out if they're actually making a conscious choice to do something. So if you see a random swap of players, you have to stop and ask, why are they doing that? What's the logic?
Yeah, I mean, if we can't get this to work, I will opt to calling the mechanic.
So that if we can do that consistently, if we can have a call that is consistent, then that's also a guaranteed way to work.
Yes,
It's just going to look like
literally, I will look north. I will press my fucking flip camera button. If there's no cardinals, it's east-west.
Yeah.
And the intercards,
It's a simple
spots they've always been going to, like at the I don't give a fuck meteors figure it out spots.
Yes, yeah.
There's always the other strategy.
What?
Buy
Get
the
healer LB and then res somebody.
No, every clip ever that has someone struggling with meteors, you can see there's an alternate 2 meteors that are perfectly opposite each other somewhere.
Like I've been saying since the beginning of today.
Hang on, Revenge, can you run that back? From the beginning, because he's top down right now, right? He's not looking at any towers, and he's flexing,
And there was
and
no
they're not
comms,
even
that's why
they're
I
not
was-
even talking about it.
That's what I was noticing.
He's
That's why we
choosing
played
he's
it.
choosing a tower there. He chooses a tower there. It seems like he's communicating, but he hasn't even looked around at all. That's the thing.
That's
How
what
can
I
you
was
do something like that
noticing, yeah.
without looking?
He was doing it based on the inner towers, like I think we mentioned earlier.
That's why I was asking for people to look at it and see if there's any kind of information maybe that you glean from the inner towers, like which one is missing.
My brain boom.
I can
So,
tell you
look,
right now
look
that
at
the pattern he just did is not a pattern that's on any of the ones that we've been referencing.
Well, didn't Revenge? How many patterns did you
Yeah.
say were possible? How many?
12 million.
Thousands.
No, it's 12,780, I
Yeah.
think.
12,780 possible patterns for this mechanic.
But that's given no restrictions.
There might be fewer when you consider that the
Yeah,
devs have
it's
created. So there's
16
always one on a
16
cardinal.
choose
So
eight
that-
op-
Back
yeah,
from the
16
oh, never mind. This is fine. This is
16 possible spaces, 8 towers, right? So that's like the 12,000 number. But like there are restrictions to where those can be placed. So it's probably fewer, but still like a couple thousand at least.
Yeah, and then you have to ask how many of those patterns have a bad pattern.
But
What percentage? How likely?
It's very
is it?
telling that when he gets marked, he doesn't observe anything, and he
Yeah,
doesn't have
so
communications.
that's what I'm talking about. There has to be a way to just
did the
Do it.
meteor on the other side also go to the right, by chance?
they
They
went
would've
out
had
opposite.
to, Yeah.
Yeah, they went out
So-
opposite. He was the one that flexed opposite.
I think it might.
What I think is happening is that meteor is picking a cardinal and he's just going opposite of them. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would make
exactly.
sense. That's kind of what it looks
which
like.
is what we were doing, right? Which
That's
is
what- yeah.
basically, yeah.
It's just the meteor. So they're doing what they're probably doing is given who's marked, it's what, him and the one of the other DPS. Okay. They probably have a D1 through 4, and then the one highest on the priority is the one.
Can I make this higher?
Who grabs that.
Okay, so what you would, if I put myself in his shoes, if the person, let's just say the person, so I'm top down as he is.
Yeah.
If the meteor to my right has a spot, has a cardinal, then I move. If the meteor to my left has a cardinal, but I also have a cardinal, they move. So you would leave, you'll basically give way to the person to your right, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think this is required, especially if you're doing that kind of like use eyes and adjust. If like one of them's cardinal, there's never a situation where you have to do like the degenerate like zigzags, blah blah blah. But I think this contouring is still a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good habit.
But I will say, looking through this VOD so far, like clicking through what 20 different pulls now, he's not doing the same movement he was yesterday.
And can you go back again quickly?
Yeah.
Just to the start of this one. Pause it when he's top down on the whole party. I'm just wondering if he has.
I just realized I haven't been
on
showing this on stream.
that
Sorry.
you can see.
Y'all are probably like, what?
No, he does not.
It doesn't. There's.
We're watching Arthur's team and how they do this.
Yeah, but is there even a cardinal tower there? It doesn't look like.
I can see one. You see the southeast one? You can make out the outline, the tiny circle outline of the east one there.
This right here.
Can you play pause a tiny bit, because I'm not seeing a tower on the.
Oh
east
no! You
arm.
know what? They see that those two towers are reversed. That's what it is. It is the southeast tower, and he knows he can do the northwest tower.
Oh. Yeah.
That's what it is.
Hang on.
Oh wait,
Maybe
I have
play a
it
tiny
because
bit.
because there's no inner tower in that quadrant. That guarantees there is a an intercardinal tower in that quadrant of the arena. Right.
Now wait, can you say it again but speak slowly?
Okay. Okay. So because there is no inner tower in the northwest currently, and in the northeast.
Stop. I'm gonna stop you there. No tower in the northeast. Is that what you said?
In the northwest is what matters. So there's no inner tower.
Is he looking
right?
north? He is looking north. Okay, so top left of screen.
So there's only the two inner towers right next to him. In the northwest, there's no inner tower. That specifically means that there has to be an intercardinal tower in that quadrant, because there's always two. And for there to be two in that quadrant, there'd have to be a cardinal, which would end up being in the north, and an intercardinal, which would be in the northwest. Right?
It doesn't have to be northwest, though.
I'm not quite following. I feel like based on what he has on his screen, which is interesting because I didn't realize you could see that much. I guess I should have checked or tried. But, Mr. Happy, we may not even have to do a camera flip. You can actually see east and west, I think, just with a top down.
It's guaranteed that there's two towers in a quadrant. So if there isn't one in the inner, there's two in the outer.
I need to check my own VOD now. Because I've been doing a top down similar to him, and I'm wondering if it's possible to just straight up see both cardinals to my left and right.
Probably depends on your resolution.
Well, he's 1080p and so am I, so...
Is he?
Or 16 by 9, I should say. I don't think high resolution sees more. Bigger... Wait, hang on. Only widescreen see more, I think. But if the ratio is 16 by 9, you don't see more. And I'm pretty sure that's 16 by 9. Yeah.
I think that's right.
If you had ultra widescreen, you could see the whole
I guess
thing.
I guess I don't know exactly. It proves the point that it would be a very easy pattern, but I don't know if that's what they're using to decide this as quickly as they are.
The other thing is you could actually just rotate your camera to get the cardinals in the top left and bottom right corner of your screen and see both that way quite easily.
Anyway, I'm going to try to find another bull.
I'm also going to posit you a question. What do you mean there's always two in a quadrant when three of them are sitting on an intercardinal and we're using the intercardinal as a divider of quadrants?
Yeah. So, yeah, an intercardinal might have two, but it could be on the other side, which creates a problem.
I'm gonna point you to in the image of 7 diagrams.
So
picture number 3, which I don't know how you would determine one of those only has 2 in it.
So think of it. So think of a quadrant now, rather than how we divided it with just like going to between 2 fires and looking out. That being a quadrant. Think of a quadrant now as west to north, like a general, like what you would generally understand a quadrant as. If you break out the arena into those quarters,
that doesn't help.
Look at bottom middle though.
Look at bottom middle. Look at the third one. Look at the second one, because then you'd have to do right. So there'd be 3 in there now.
Like the third one has 2 double intercardinals.
Oh no. Okay, yeah, no, that's not what I mean. I mean that there's at least 2, right? So there can be 3, but there's at least 2 in a quadrant. And if there's no inner tower, that means that by default there has to be an intercardinal tower in that quadrant on the outside.
What?
Because
hang on. So okay, let's go with that line of thinking.
I still don't think that's true.
You could almost, so you could possibly say, rather than doing north-south or east-west, you're doing northeast-southwest. With the off chance that they might have to cross a line to get the tower that is on the other intercardinal.
Right.
But
I'm just saying, like,
okay,
I don't think that's what they're
that,
doing, but that's what I noticed based on.
But
that.
if you did that, what do all the other players do to flex around that?
Yeah, I know. That's just by deduction is what I noticed. Like, I was just pointing that out, but I don't think that that's a feasible way to handle it.
In spirits of keeping sleep schedules not fucked, we should probably wrap up.
Oh yeah, I already said we've officially ended. So if you want to go, sleep,
like,
by all means.
I mean, like, we should all get off our computers and go do stuff and then go to sleep.
Well,
no, there'll be a couple hours until I actually fall asleep anyway.
Yeah, I'll be here for 30 minutes.
Yeah, smile.
So I'm gonna be picking through this VOD
if
for
you guys are gonna
anyway.
comb through stuff, I'm gonna go turn my brain off for a little bit, and then I usually wake up like 2 hours early, and then I do a little more research. So that's what I'm gonna do.
No, that's absolutely fine. No one has to be here right now.
I woke up at 5:59 a.m. today. We rated at 6, so
I'm gonna go make dinner and see you guys in the morning.
All right.
See ya.
All right, so actually, I thought we did really good today. Actually, we saw all of the jumps in the next phase, so we have everything on paper. We need to solve the entirety of the next phase, actually. Like, if we were to sleep on what we know now and come up with a decent plan, we can get to phase 4 tomorrow. I don't know if we will, because we still needed a lot of practice on Nidhogg, and I think the first half of tomorrow is going to be making sure that our new meteor strat is consistent every single time. But other than that, awesome job today. We did really good. Yeah, and I'm going to try to stick to my schedule. I'm going to hop off the PC right now. I'm going to go make a quick dinner, and then I'm literally going to go in bed and then wake up early like I did. I will start the stream at somewhere between 1:30 to 2 a.m. PST tomorrow morning. Does the double finger guns at chat room? Teehee. Thank you for watching today, everybody, and thank you again for all the subs and resubs. Sorry I couldn't read all those out while we were raiding, but love you guys. Appreciate it. Day 3 tomorrow. Hopefully we can make some good progress on Nidhogg and then possibly see the next phase. All right. Peace out, everybody. Be back at 1:30 to 2 a.m. PST. I'm not gonna host anybody, just because my team's all going to sleep, and I'm pretty sure all the rest of the teams are on the same schedule, so they're also gonna go to sleep. Just go hop around the XIV section. There's probably lots of other people playing, not on the same schedule as us. So, be back tomorrow morning. Have a good night, everybody. See you bright and early. Peace.